Resell cheap Fiverr services at other high-value locations. The name of the game here is information differential or information imbalance. It's easy to get the impression that if you see news on one website, then people that visit another website will automatically know the news. After all, the internet is just a giant spider web, if you will, of links. The data that you can find on one place can also be found or accessed from another place sooner or later. Well, this is too much of an assumption to make. It turns out that in certain situations and regarding certain types of data, data actually travels slowly. This is a money-making opportunity for you. While a lot of people know about Fiverr and they know that they can buy services starting at $5, not everybody knows this. Even if people have heard of Fiverr, not everybody has actually used Fiverr. Again, this is an opportunity. You only need to find other websites on the internet like Facebook pages, Facebook groups, message boards, forums, and other places people post information. Some of these places have a marketplace. This is where community members offer to either buy services, offer services for sale, or do a little bit of both. Once you find these places, sell Fiverr services on them. Of course, when they click on the link, they go to your website, but you're actually just reselling Fiverr services. You're not offering the services yourself. Again, the operative principle here is to buy low and sell high. You buy low on Fiverr, and you sell high on these other places. Advantages. The big advantage here is that you get to mark up Fiverr services. It's not unusual for people who buy something for $20 on Fiverr to turn around and sell it for $200 to $500 on their own website. Not too shabby. Another big advantage is that you get to offer the best service provider. You have to remember that there are a lot of service providers on Fiverr. There are a lot of people from all over the world offering a wide range of services. Not all of them are good. Some of them, however, are experts. They are the top of their field. What you can do is you can offer the best service providers from Fiverr. Sure, they sell at a higher price, but you can always mark it up. This way, you can resell only the very best and leave the garbage behind. Finally, the biggest advantage of this business model is you name your markup. If you think you can get away with 100% markup, go for it. If you think that 500% profit is possible, and probably take advantage of it. You have full freedom because you're advertising on third-party sites. But when people click a link, they don't go to Fiverr, they go to your site. This is where you advertise services that you turn around and buy from the best-of-breed service providers on Fiverr. Disadvantages. The big disadvantage with offering best-of-breed service providers is that those people can disappear. I know this firsthand because I used to get really awesome Kindle book covers from this person who cranks out one best-selling cover after another. I thought I would always come back to this person until I learned my lesson the hard way. For 4 straight months, he was unresponsive. It's as if he fell off the face of the earth. These suppliers are all over the place on Fiverr. In fact, there is a rule of thumb. The more competent the service provider and the more of an expert he or she is, the flakier that person is. We don't like flakes. Nobody should. But unfortunately, they're part of the mix. This is the risk that you run. Do yourself a big favor. Find an alternative. This means that you have a backup or two. For example, you're offering graphic services and you normally turn around and buy Michelangelo's services. If for whatever reason he flakes out, you can always tap Raphael or Leonardo so you can cover your assets. Another key disadvantage is that the quality might be spotty from time to time. If this happens, your reputation may suffer. Remember, you're charging a fat premium for this service. You are riding on somebody else's expertise. But if that person gets sloppy or lazy, let's face it, this happens to the very best of us. Again, this is where having a backup comes in. If your main go-to person delivers garbage, all of a sudden, you can at least quickly pivot and order from the next expert and come up with something decent. Another drawback to this business model is that many markets are increasingly sophisticated. Don't think that the people you're selling to are idiots. Don't think that they are completely wet behind the ears and they haven't heard of Fiverr. If they haven't heard of it, they will hear about it soon enough. Now, some people simply don't care. Some people may realize that you're just flipping services, and guess what? They don't care. Why? Their time is very valuable to them. They have other bigger fish to fry. Other people can take this very personally. They don't like to feel that they've been taken advantage of. They can see right through your system. It's obvious to them that you're just flipping services by buying low and selling high. These people are probably not your intended buyers anyway. Chances are, if they're that paranoid, cynical, and skeptical, they probably wouldn't have bought from you. If they did, they probably would have turned around and asked for a refund. It's a good idea to be discreet. Don't be obvious about it. However, at the end of the day, haters are going to hate. That's just part of the game. Another drawback is people often will only pay you a very fat premium. I'm talking about over 200% or 300% if you have a solid brand. This means that you have a long list of people who are happy with your reselling activities. These are people who really get a lot of value from what you're doing. That is hard enough because you're going to have to perform really well for an extended period of time. You also have to have a solid reseller site. You can't just go to Blogspot, Weebly, or Wix and scrape together a very basic site. People are going to equate the low quality of your site with the quality of the services you are reselling. This means that you're going to have to step up the amount of money you pay upfront for this business. You have to pay solid money to a developer and designer on Fiverr to create an authoritative and expert-looking reseller website. Finally, you have to get traffic to your reseller website. This means that you have to go to forums, message boards, Facebook groups, and pages that already actively resell the Fiverr services you are reselling. Go there. Get people excited. Post your offer, and when they click, they'd go to your reseller website. Step-by-step directions. Step number 1, find places to resell on. This is very important. Make sure to create a list of all sorts of places where people are selling services. Again, this may be Facebook groups, pages, message boards, or forums. Once you have found these places and looked at the services, pay close attention to the prices being charged. If you notice that a certain type of service tends to fetch a fairly high price across many different sellers and across many different times, chances are good that people who visit this place pay a premium for those who offer that type of service. Step number 2, find providers of your target service on Fiverr and hold an audition. By hold an audition, I'm not talking about getting people to try out for free. I'm talking about paying for these wide range of people's services. Again, this is going to drive up your cost, but you need to pay this money so you can see who actually walks their talk. You're going to have to pay to figure out who's the real deal. Again, you're trying to offer best-of-breed service providers. You're not just reselling some random rookie's output. Step number 3, build your reseller website. As I've mentioned before, you're going to have to spend real money to put together a high-quality reseller site. From the outside looking in, it shouldn't be apparent that you're just turning around and reselling Fiverr services. From the perspective of outsiders who know nothing about you and your service, you should look like an established, credible, authoritative, and trustworthy business. Step number 4, present case studies. People are not going to buy from you if you just tell them that you're the best thing since sliced bread. Things don't work that way. People are going to say, show me. The best way to do this is through case studies. This means that you're going to hire many different service providers on Fiverr and then give them the same project. You then take the results of the project and pick out the very best provider. You can use those results as your case studies. This way, you showcase to people that you can actually get the job done. Also, you may want to offer your resold services for absolutely free in exchange for a testimonial. Personally, I prefer video testimonials. Run the service for free for clients so you end up paying for this service to the provider on Fiverr and then showcase the positive results. Obviously, leave out any failed results. Step number 5, do outreach. I wish I could tell you that you just need to post an ad on forums, message boards, Facebook groups, and pages. It doesn't work that way. You definitely need to do these, but you also have to do outreach. This means that you're going to have to contact digital marketing agencies and other organizations that normally order the type of service that you are offering. Buy services that help you buy resellable high-value assets. This business model involves you looking for services on Fiverr that involve researching or finding digital assets. These assets take many different forms. There are people on Fiverr that use all sorts of sophisticated software to quickly find domain names. You can then buy these services to get a list of those domain names that you could possibly buy. Buy some, and then try to flip them. Similarly, there are service providers on Fiverr that can help you find leads. For example, if you're looking for yoga instructors in Los Angeles, there are virtual assistants who can look up those people. They can get a name, an address, a specialization, and contact details. They can even find social media accounts. You bundle all that information, then you sell it to people who are looking to reach those prospects. Do you see how this works? This is one of the least known ways to make money on Fiverr. If you know what you're doing, you can actually stand to make a lot more money using this technique than most of the other techniques I shared in this training. Advantages. A lot of the services that go into finding and analyzing potential digital assets are actually cheap on Fiverr. We're talking about $5. How come? A lot of these service providers don't do it by hand. They don't have the time to do it by hand. Plus, they're too smart for that. They use software. Some of them have special coded software that they built themselves or they hired somebody to do it for them. Others use off-the-shelf software. Regardless of the tool that they use, you benefit because you buy their services at a low price. Next, you can buy these services to compile an asset. For example, you hire somebody to find a certain type of doctor in a certain city in the United States. You can then take that information and sell it many times over. You pay for the asset once, but you can sell it again and again. Another advantage you get with this business model is that depending on the asset, you can actually charge quite a bit of money. Let's get one thing clear. If somebody just wants you to find all the doctors who offer their services in the greater Los Angeles, California area, you probably won't be able to charge too much money. There's probably a lot of lists out there. In fact, a lot of them are free. What makes your list so special? Now, if you come up with a list of specialist doctors who are looking to buy an MRI machine because they have bought a related machine in the not-so-distant past, that list that you have can be gold. You can sell it to an MRI sales company or companies related to MRI. Do you see the big picture here? Good. It's quite lucrative. Finally, you sell assets with this service. For example, you hire people to find specialized domain names. Those are assets. This is very different from leads. Leads are those who can resell many times over, but are not assets. Disadvantages. The big drawback to this is the fact that it costs money up front. People finding assets for you or digging up information for you will not do it for free. No chance. You have to pay up front. Next, you have to pick the right assets to sell. Otherwise, you'll have many assets that won't sell enough to cover your costs. Again, going back to the doctor example, you might think that people will pay good money for a pure list of doctors from a specific geographic area. Think again. Those lead lists are probably all over the place. Why should they pay you money? You have to find specialized information. The same applies to domain names. You have to pick the right type of domain name that has existing demand. Otherwise, people are not going to pay that much money for it, assuming they buy it at all. The next disadvantage is that reselling domains means buying the service to find it, analyze it, and then spending more money to buy the domain. In other words, you're paying many times over. Wait, it doesn't stop there. Just because you bought the domain doesn't necessarily mean that you can automatically flip it. A lot of times, people who buy digital assets like domains have to hang on to it for several months or even several years for it to be worth quite a bit of money. There's a lot of opportunity costs involved. This is not a slam dunk. Finally, if you're using Fiverr services to find data that you can turn around and sell, please understand that you just can't advertise online and people would line up to buy that data. Chances are high that you have to do direct outreach. This may mean that you would have to hire a virtual assistant to research businesses that may be interested in the data that you're selling and reach out to them. If you are extra proactive, you might want to hire call centers in places like the Philippines and India who do outbound sales. Basically, you'll just give them a pitch and phone numbers to call, and they'll take care of everything else. Usually, when an actual human being makes the outreach and gets a voice-to-voice connection, your chances of unloading your digital assets go up quite a bit. You're also able to charge a lot more money, but again, this is not a slam dunk. You have to have data assets that people would actually want to buy. It's anybody's guess if you have those kinds of assets, so you need to do your research first. Step-by-step directions. Step number 1, decide on what resellable asset you want to specialize in. Step number 2, formulate tightly defined research and production steps. This is extremely important. You cannot let your Fiverr freelancer do creative thinking for you. They work best when you have a preset list of decisions and analytical points for them to follow. They just need to go step by step to get the desired result. The less surprises, uncertainties, and discretion involved in the process, the better. Step number 3, contact top-notch researchers on Fiverr. Basically, you look for the type of services that are required to find this type of information or asset. The next thing is to look at the different researchers available. Look at their ranking, testimonials, and what people say about them. At this point, it's not a good idea to go cheap. Don't look for the lowest price service provider. Instead, look for somebody who is worth the money. Sure, you may pay a little bit more. However, if your results are solid and you have a high chance of reselling that data or finding the right asset, then you have struck gold. Step number 4, get the asset compiled. I'm talking primarily about data assets here. Step number 5, reach out and sell. This is the most important part. Seriously, the previous 4 steps are nothing compared to this step. If you get this right, you will make quite a bit of money. If you get this wrong, you're going to be sitting on an asset that is practically worthless. It only has potential value, but that's the best you can hope for. Potential. To turn that potential into cold, hard cash in your bank account, you have to reach out and sell. Again, Fiverr comes in handy. If you are too shy, or you don't have the time, or you simply can't be bothered to do this, there are virtual assistants on Fiverr. If you're looking for specialized services at their cheap prices, go to cognoplus.com. Regardless of how you do it, you need to have other people find your prospective buyers, get in touch with them, open the sale, and then you come in and try to close the sale. If the assets that you have gotten using this business model involve domain names, then you can place those domain names on auction websites like Flippa.